Okay, so welcome to the Wish Alliance. I'm Alan Steinfeld, substituting for Sheila Seppi, and our special guest today is Marina Seren. Do you have a PowerPoint? Or are you just going to talk to us, Marina?
I'm
Well,
going to talk.
okay, great. So let me just introduce Marina for a second. I think she is an amazing amalgamation of hybrid consciousness, star seeds, and just an enlightened perspective on the human experience. And I really feel she's come here at this time to uplift the planet, to give us new information, to access the higher consciousness, and to open people up to what's possible. I mean, she's only 21 years old in that body, but ageless in the mind. And I always say when I was 21 years old, I couldn't even tie my shoelace, basically. But no, Marina has a lot of very wise knowledge. And what are you going to talk to about today, Marina?
I thought that today I will speak on psychic abilities.
Great. Okay. Why don't you go and talk for as long as you want, and then we'll have some questions for you. So
Sure.
go ahead. The floor is yours. So
Thank you,
please.
Alan. So as I said, I thought that today was a great day to speak on psychic abilities because there's a lot of information out there about it. But I have, of course, my own perspective on it, my own experience with it. So, of course, the information that I can say about it, it's different from what other people can give because everybody experiences their own psychic abilities, really personally because they are really personal, how we experience them. So I thought that the way to present about them was to talk on my own personal journey to describe how I got to, let's say, explore my own awakening of my own third eye, of my own psychic abilities, and how I learned which kind of abilities I had and how I did, awaken them and made them become stronger. Well, to me, when the first time that I became aware that I was a psychic medium and that I have psychic abilities was when I was about, let's say, 7 years old, or even 7 years old, I think. And so what will happen to me, it's that I had one of my best friends were really close to me, and we were really we shared a lot of things in common. We had a lot of harmony. And so one day I will, for example, go to sleep and she will dream one thing and say, hey, I had this dream and you were there. And I was like, yes, I also dreamed this and you were also there. So at that moment is when I realized that that's one way that we have to explore our connections in higher dimensions. We let's say, create friendships in the physical, or connections, relationship with people here. And sometimes we met them in the astral and we have experiences together. And so to be able to tap into that information and to bring it back here and to discuss with that person, it is something that I learned that it's part of the idea of mediumship, because you're able to tap into that information and translate the symbols of the dream and the experience into information that makes sense, to information that, it's part of an experience, and a spiritual astral experience that you have with another person. And so then later on, when I started to grow more, out to, let's say, 7, 8 years old or 9 years old, I remember that I was with my friends and we were playing that we had powers. Now, every child plays that they have superpowers and everything, pretty much. So it's pretty much a fantasy for all of us. But in my case, I never thought about superpowers or, abilities as something fantasy like, something that is out of this world, that is not real, that is an illusion, whatever. I knew that abilities are real. I knew that powers is a real thing, and that the point of them is consciousness. It's all about consciousness, and everything's interconnected. So, for example, one day we were playing that each person was assigned to an element, of nature. My friend will play that she will be connected to the air element. My other friend will play that she will be connected to the fire element. And I will decide that I was connected to the water element, because that's the one I resonate more with. That's the one that it's more personally connected to me. Well, one of the things that I found myself doing, it's to manifest or control, let's say, the manifestation of rain in the weather. And so I found myself meditating with my friends, and with the purpose of manifesting rain or something similar, and it actually rained. Now, to check that I was not making it up, I decided that I will meditate to make it stop, to check if I was really able to manipulate the weather with my own, let's say, psychic abilities. And it stopped at the moment. And let's say that I was a little bit skeptic, so I played again the same thing. I did the same thing. And I meditated so that I will start raining again. And in just 10 seconds, it started raining again. Now, it's true that the psychic ability that goes behind it, that is responsible for that, maybe that I was a person that was really connected to the elements of nature. And so because I had this synchrony, or this, say, strong relationship with water element, I could, let's say, control it a little bit. But that's not exactly true. There's another psychic ability behind it that was responsible for that event in my life, which is the idea of synchronicity, the subconscious mind, the ability to tune into your physical reality, into the, let's say, electromagnetic spectrum, the grid of electromagnetic lines that surround the planet, and be able to, through quantum, let's say, mechanics and manifestation and psychic, let's say, synchronicity with that, let's say, electromagnetic field, that medium, that place, to align myself with the state of being that will make it highly probable in the spectrum of quantum probabilities of manifestation, to actually manifest that thing, that event, via synchronicity. And synchronicity works hand in hand with higher mind, with subconscious mind. So if you're able to synchronize with your desires, with your willpower to manifest something in the spectrum of probability, of quantum probability, you actually can experience let's say, manifestation of it, when in fact you have synchronized to that. It was being, let's say, manifested, and you were actually desiring to manifest it at the same time. So it's more like you were harmonizing together those two events. But, overall, it's highly possible, both things, that you can work, that you can make happen via synchronicity, or that you can manifest it yourself with your own, let's say, manifestational abilities, by tuning into the electromagnetic spectrum of that place, of that region, or wherever that you are, because place has its own consciousness. Countries have their own consciousness, cities have their own consciousness, space is consciousness itself. So if you connect to it, if you align with and harmonize with it, you have the power to influence it by flowing your own, let's say, attention, your focus, and spiritual energy behind it. So that was one of my first, let's say, conscious experience with psychic abilities, with manifestation. But then later on, 1 year later, approximately, I was still playing with it. I was still discovering my own psychic abilities. I will play with other kind of psychic gifts, which is what we know as remote viewing. And so, for example, I was at the home of, I was at my friend's home, and we were doing homework, whatever, we were studying. And she will say, oh no, well, I need a pencil. I need to do this exercise. I don't know where it is. And so I just had the idea came to me. I guess it was from my higher mind, that there was something, there was an ability that I couldn't name, of course, because I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't in the field of ufology and spirituality yet. That there was something, possible ability, a psychic ability, which was to tune into yourself, go inside your mind, and focusing in that object, in the energy and the frequency of that object that you want to find or locate, and open your channels as much as you can to let every possibility, every probability as a, as a welcome answer, as a probable answer, and start receiving information in whatever way that it comes. The key is that you do it from a place of no expectations, and that you let every possibility as a probable answer, that you let come anything in the way that it comes by itself, so that you're highly receptive to information. So I tune into that, to all the spectrum possibilities. And by just tuning in silence, I started to get images. I started to get like energies, vibrations. And so I felt pulled to go to another part of the room to check into this box and to check into this other place. And there was the pencil. So that was the first time that I realized that remote viewings was one of my psychic abilities, and one of the psychic abilities that we all have. But, for some reason, when you are being more open for things to come, for answers to come to you, with no expectations, because I was exploring, I was, thinking that it might be possible that there is such an ability. If you really leave yourself to not have any kind of expectation, is when you're most, let's say, tune in, your own psychic gifts, because that's one of the highest obstacles, that you have expectations, that you put yourself blocks and expect that you're going to receive an answer in a really specific way. When we're talking about psychic abilities, the answers, the information can manifest itself in many different probabilities, because energy, it's a general topic, it's a general thing. Energy is shape, form, sound, color, it's memories, it's ideas, it's has many ways to manifest itself, to express itself, because it's multidimensional. So that's something that you need to realize when you're when you're exploring with your psychic abilities, that the way that they have to manifest, it can be in a high, really big spectrum of different ways, different probabilities. And well, that was it for them when I was a child. But I have to admit that I kept playing with the idea of manifestation, with the elements like water and air, because I will never forget that when I was with my friend, and it was winter, we were discussing that we wished that we will experience snow. And snow is a really rare thing in Madrid. It rarely snows in Madrid so far. So we were discussing that. We were saying that, we wanted that to happen, to manifest, and we were thinking about it. And we said, well, didn't we have psychic abilities? Didn't we have this connection to the elements of nature? And so we say, well, let's try to do something about it. I am the water and you're the air. So if we mix our energies, we can manifest snow. That's the equation for snow. So we did it. And so we started meditating on this. We started to connect to the element, the idea of snow, and we started meditating on it. We started to visualizing it and to believe that we had that power, because that's one of the most important things with psychic abilities, that you believe that it can happen, because quantum manifestation works like that. with belief. If you do believe, it can manifest. You're not flowing it, you're not flowing through it enough of spiritual energy, which is consciousness. And consciousness is the key and the base, for any psychic ability to function, to happen, to be manifested, to be used. So if the most important element of a psychic ability, which is belief, you're blocking it, then you're not letting it manifest. So we were tuning into snow, we were visualizing it, and what happened is that we actually manifested snow, like 3 days after we were meditating or visualizing it. And I will never forget that when we went to the classroom, the teacher said, this is something so rare. It never happened in years. We're so, fascinated with this event. And so we look at each other and said, I know we manifested this, it was great, we did great, And so, yeah, it's something that it's great to explore when you're a child and later on, and it was a great experience. And it's not the only time that I manifested snow, but that's let's say that's a longer story. But well, that was my exploration when I was a child. It was pretty much fun and laughs, and I wasn't yet totally sure that those were psychic abilities by the moment, because I haven't done my research or spiritual awakening. So of course I had lots of people around me telling me that that's not true. I mean, that cannot be true. It's a delusion, spirituality is not true, things like that. But when I woke up in 2015, when I was a teenager, is when I started exploring the fact that I have other kinds of psychic abilities that were real similar to how I manifested the other ones, but who had different purposes, let's say. One of the first abilities that I will wake up to when I was 15, it's the ability to, let's say, get out of your body, like astral projection as we know it. And this happened right along with my Kundalini awakening, because, I have many energies surging from the bottom chakras up to the spine. And so because the energies were so intense in my Kundalini awakening, I could basically get out of my body without previous meditation. Now, this is something that at the day of today, I cannot do anymore. It was a circumstantial thing because of the energies that I was experiencing and awakening at that moment. So now if I will wish to astral project consciously, it's something that I will have to, let's say, manifest through after a series of meditations and, techniques, But at that time, in that moment, the idea of astral projection didn't, the ability to astral project didn't ask me to get through any meditation, because it's that power of spiritual awakening, of Kundalini awakening. So I observed myself being able to get out of my body without even like laying on the bed. I was even like sitting on the couch, and I was able to do it. Now, I didn't do it because at the time I was a teenager. I was just awakening. So I was so scared that, what things I could encounter, what things I could explore. So I didn't do it, but the possibility was there, let's say. And so, yeah, that was a really strong ability, a really, caused by really strong energies. And let's say that it's the ability that I less explore so far, because now when I want to astral project, I don't choose it myself. It usually is an extraterrestrial consciousness coming to me and taking me out of the body so that I contact them, or that I check on information that I have to check in the astral and bring back here, But I have to say that I was pretty strong. Well, one of the things that I will experience also will be the idea of saying things before they happen. It's also a really rare phenomenon because it takes some time to, let's say, I mean, it takes a lot of focus, to see things before they happen. It's not that you're always, let's say, expecting things to happen. You just live your life. But I remember that one day I was in my room, I was in my bed, and I had my phone on the table. And so there's a text that appears, that shows up, a window that shows up when you need to charge the phone, and a sound to it. Well, I was laying on my bed and I was almost falling asleep. And what I remember that happened is that I saw the window and I heard let's say, the sound of that thing happen in my mind. I saw it in my third eye and I heard it. Well, 3 seconds later, it happened. The same window, the same sound. It just happened. And along with that ability comes the precognitive dreams. I will experience that every day, not every day, but almost every day, I will have dreams that will manifest themselves in physical reality. And so I couldn't, of course, I couldn't say, well, this is going to happen, because you don't know what aspect of your dreams are going to be manifested. But when they will get manifested, I will know, I will say, oh, I dreamt with this. It's exactly what I experienced in my dream time. And of course, later on with my activation, I found out that I was able to channel my higher mind, which is my conscious channeling ability, in which I will, for example, get the urge to know something. And just like that, as a download, I will manifest the knowledge, like the knowledge will be obvious to me. And, then the psychic mediumship, in which I will hear, let's say, sounds or words or information from my higher, my higher mind or my guides. Like it will be words or even phrases, and, I will be able to speak to them. I will expand, and connect back to my remote viewing abilities, which is, I will use for practice or to locate things that I will lose, things like that. And then also the ability of reading the energy of people, their origins, where they come from, their chakras, if they're aligned or not, what things they are thinking, what things they're feeling. Then when I will go to high school, I will be, for example, I will be studying, or I will be paying attention to my teacher. And one of the things that I will realize that I could see from it, it's that there was a spectrum of light, like let's say an electromagnetic field around them with a color, with a real specific color. Some will have blue, some will have orange. So then I later found out that that was the aura, and that I could see with my physical sight. And later on, I taken back my own psychic abilities when it comes to telepathy, and I played those games called the center cards with my friend, who was also interested in psychic abilities. And I have to say, it was pretty fun, because if you really connect with numbers or with shapes, and you have a really harmonic relationship with that person, the psychic ability is easier. Let's say, it's more fluid information, because you're tuning into their consciousness, their thoughts, their mind. So if there's a higher, let's say, a stronger connection or bond between you and the person that you're trying to read the thoughts from, the information comes faster, comes better. It's more fluid, So yeah.
So I just want to ask you, you never had any teacher? This all came to you just through your own intuition?
Yes. Nobody took me.
And the big thing I think people want to know is, how can they learn to be psychic, open up to astral travel? What can you tell us to do that will help open that up for us?
Well, that's the thing with psychic abilities. You don't need teaching. You don't need it's not a learning process. It's rather like an unlearning process, because you have learned so far that you're part of a reality in which these things are natural. we're always hearing and and listening and reading everywhere that psychic abilities are out of this world. They're extraordinary, and that's not true. We are psychic people. Psychic abilities is a natural phenomenon of consciousness, because everything that you're able to perceive out of your psychic abilities is your own energy, which is the energy of your consciousness. Therefore, how can it be unnatural? How can it be extraordinary? It is ordinary. It is the natural thing, the natural expression of your own consciousness, reading itself, interpreting itself, translating many of the signals and energy of itself, projections of itself. So it's not a learning lesson, let's say. It's rather like a practice to get back to that state of being, that connection to nature, and at the same time to your own nature.
But then how do we get out of the way then? What's a practice to get out of the way? Because that's what's stopping us from accessing our natural gifts.
Well, there are many examples. For example, if you will tell me that you wish to activate your third eye to read energy, or let's say to see people's aura, the thing with the third eye, it's that the idea behind it, it's vision. The basic idea, it's vision. It's the ability to see. That's an idea of consciousness. That's a symbol of consciousness. So if you claim that you wish to see outside of you, like somebody's energy, somebody's, let's say, frequency or whatever, an event, that ability to see outside, it's the ability, it mirrors the ability that you have to see inside of you. So the more that you know yourself, for instances, the more that you learn that you can know others' energy or other events, because consciousness, and this is something really important to realize, consciousness in higher planes, it understands itself as a one structure,
a oneness.
And all aspects of that oneness, that structure, as aspect of itself. That's why sometimes when people have psychic, let's say memories, like recovery from, let's say, hypnotherapy sessions, they often observe that they're able to perceive themselves as a third person. They are seeing themselves, and they're seeing the person here, they're seeing the other person here, they're seeing the walls, all of it at the same time. And why does it happen? Because consciousness in higher realms understands itself in oneness. So it contains vision in 360 degrees, because it understands, it integrates in its perception that all elements of that dimension, of that experience, is all a projection of itself. It's its own self.
I think it's great to say that, the more you understand yourself, the more you go into your own inner consciousness, the more awareness of the outer realms there are. Now, do you think this was like your destiny? Do you remember your past lives or future lives or parallel lives? we're all talking about this consciousness. Do you come in to help share this? Just wherever you want to tune into those questions, let me just go ahead.
Well, the ability, not the ability, but the, let's say, recovery of your past life memories or future lifetime memories, it's a thing that it has more, let's say, meaning to it, spiritual meaning to it, behind it. That you can perfectly go and meditate and have these hypnotherapy sessions of like recovery memories from it and informing your consciousness, physical consciousness from it, and recover this information. But the point is that as reconnected consciously with that stream of information, it's so meaningful for how you experience yourself here in this lifetime. Because it influences you. It influences your perception and understanding of yourself. That only if it's meant to happen, you'll actually align yourself or be able to, let's say, manifest that to happen in your life. So the thing is that, that if you find yourself interested in it and you want to do it, then it's because they're in a higher plane, in higher planes of consciousness, there is being made an agreement to it. It has been discussed that it is needed for you to know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't find yourself attracted to it. If you find yourself attracted to it, it's because at the same time, it is meaningful for you. It is meant for you. So that's the paradox, that it won't only happen if it's meant for you, but if you find interested in it, it's because it's being set out in higher planes of consciousness that it is meaningful for you, for your experience of exploration.
I think it's all meaningful for us here. Maybe I'll bring Barbara Lamb into the conversation. And Barbara has worked with lots of starseeds. And you're familiar with Marina, right, Barbara? You said you want to unmute yourself there. Unmute. Can you unmute? And so I just want to say, Barbara is a regression therapist. She's worked with lots of people like Marina. And so what do you make of the information Marina is bringing in as a sort of I would say it's a starseed, advanced consciousness. Are you meeting lots of this in your work? Lots of these kind of people, Barbara?
Well, I do meet some of them. Some are more talented in that way than others, for sure. But I do find that those who are talented are very broad in their consciousness and awareness. In other words, they're aware of many other dimensions and other beings in space, and very often they're people who have contact with those other beings from space.
And why is this happening?
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful people in my experience.
But
Marina.
Why do you think people like Marina and others you work with are coming at this time? Is there a shift? Is this about a shift? That's what I get. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that the world, humanity, desperately needs it. We've come along on a track that we've been on for hundreds and hundreds of years, but it seems like now there's even more of a large scale grab for control and domination, a lot of corruption, a lot of lies, a lot of manipulating people. We see it particularly these years right now. And some of that's getting exposed, thank goodness. But anyway, and then of course we've got the climate change crises going on and pollution ruining the earth. So I think that a lot of beings in space who are very knowing, wise, benevolent beings, they're very, very concerned about humanity and concerned about planet Earth. I think that's not true of all beings out there, but there are many for whom that is true. So they have been, for quite a while now, some decades at least, have been sending people we call starseeds, who maybe originally came from them in previous incarnations. And they've been creating the hybrids, ET human hybrids, who are here to really help raise the consciousness of humanity and to acquaint humanity with the realm of these other beings out there. So I think we're in more of a crisis time on Earth right now for a number of reasons. And that's why maybe we're seeing more people who do have these wonderful abilities and these connections with the star beings. So on the one hand, it's very interesting when you really think about it, that on the one hand, in many ways, things are getting worse and worse and worse on planet Earth. And on the other hand, we're having more and more people here living amongst us, like Marina, who are really here to truly help, to educate us, to open our minds, open our hearts, open our spirits. And so we've got these two things, almost like the old-fashioned scale, you know, the negative and then the positive, and we're in this kind of a dance, as I
Right.
see it,
Well,
between the positive and the negative.
well, that makes me ask Marina, and also other people can jump in with questions. What does the psychic awareness, Marina, how is that practically used to deal with all the problems we have here? Climate change and wars and shortages and, illness. Is there something that being psychic helps us with? I mean, or this advanced awareness that we can use in these situations?
Well, as psychic abilities are really various, various types of psychic abilities, and it's a big spectrum of different ways to explore them or activating or use it for specific purposes. I will say that the general agenda or the general, let's say, mission with them or use for it, it's to be able to interpret the energies around us in a better way, to understand more of the experiences that we're manifesting in front of us in our spiritual path, so that by reading them and understanding it better, we can manage them better. Let's say we can deal with them better and go through them and take the steps that we need to go forward and pass them all these different obstacles and integrate them,
I also think if all of us had that ability, everyone on earth, there wouldn't be war. There would be less suffering. There'd be more of a connection to each other. That's what I feel that we're all evolving towards. So let me ask anyone else. Do you have any questions? Karen, Ross, Glenda, Loney, anything? Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Oh, look, I just want to say you're brilliant. I love you. And
Thank you so much.
I absolutely agree with you. And I've been teaching people psychic ability for like many years. And what you said about you don't teach somebody, you just undo their beliefs, their thought forms about how they think they can't do it. Because that was my experience as a young girl. I'm thinking, how do I be more psychic? And then I spent a whole lot of money doing courses and realized people were teaching me what I was already doing. And as you were saying, Marina, that you develop it by relying on it. So when you start to put yourself out there as a psychic or a reader or a healer or whatever you need to use your psychic ability, sorry, I'm just trying to put my hand down, your psychic ability for, when you start to rely on it, it develops and it expands. But I always say, and all the mothers will understand this, that babies come into this world without, the ability to communicate. And mothers are already psychically communicating with their children all the time. You see it. Oh, she's hungry. Oh, I have to change her nappy. It's like, how do you know that? I just know it. I don't know. I just know it. So we're doing it all the time. And Seth said in the Seth books years ago, who's read the Seth books?
Love the Seth books.
Yeah, don't you love the Seth books? That we're all communicating telepathically, all of us, all the time. And he said, or they said, that stream of consciousness said, you couldn't drive on your roads if you were not. And, as you
ever driven in India, it's really true. Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? I know some of the countries that have less restrictions and road signs, the drivers are absolutely relying on that intuition to drive. I think I heard there was some country in Europe that took out all their road signs and stuff like that, and there were less traffic accidents and things like that. But yeah, thank you so much for being here on Earth. And you are just, every time I see you, I'm just blown away by.
Thank you so much.
Do I have a question for you? Yes, I think that Alan's question was brilliant, and I'd like to expand on that. How do you see your work as a starseed directly affecting what we're going through currently with the pandemic and the corruption and all that sort of stuff?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I learned about starseeds, it's that the things that we know for sure generally is that we're here to bring, higher awareness, higher consciousness. Well, how we get to do it by creating the space for that light to shine in. So many star seeds around the world find themselves in terrible situations of, let's say, trauma or limitation, whatever, any kind of negative circumstance, so that they can create a space, to shine a light, to bring the light to shine on it. Because the consciousness work, it's about shadow work. It's about getting the unconscious back to consciousness, integrating it by doing that conscious movement of looking at that which is unpreferred, which is not aligned with the light, with balance, and deciding that that is not aligned with the spirit, that is not aligned with our true nature. It is not something preferred. So by integrating that that's not part of who we are, and that we are empowered, we're not limited to it. It's an illusion. It's not real. We let it go, and that's when we can bring the light on it. We can shine a light on it. And so, what you will observe many times is that the spiritual energy behind it, on how you actually get to do it, how you actually get to do that process. Many times the stars, they do it aligned with any specific star system, so that the way that they become, like they place things back to consciousness, it's by tuning into that stream of consciousness, which is that star system that they originated from, or their genetics are more connected to, and download the information, the spiritual guidance on how to overcome it and apply it in their lives. And that's how they ground to the planetary consciousness matrix, that specific star system's consciousness.
Wait, can you say that again? I lost you for a second. Go ahead. I was thinking, I went off on a little. Go ahead, say that again.
Sure. So that's how they actually, star seeds ground into the planetary consciousness matrix, one specific star system's consciousness, by creating the circumstances, obstacle, this limitation experience, in their life, and saying, okay, I want to ground into this planet, this information, this consciousness for this extraterrestrial civilization. They tune into it, they open their channels, and they start to download their information on the spiritual guidance or the spiritual movement to apply or to express to that circumstance, so that they can ground the higher consciousness on it. And that's how they introduce it into the planet.
If it's not too personal, can you give us an example in your life specifically of what you did to ground that starseed knowledge into your life and this planet? Yeah.
Sure. For my experience, one of the things that I will realize is exactly that. That depending on the specific beings that I was connecting to at that moment, the kind of guidance that I will receive from higher dimensions to apply it in my own obstacles will be different each time. So for example, when I was dealing with trauma and I was connecting to Andromedans, one of the teachings that I will learn is, once the lesson is learned, the pain is forgotten. And just by hearing it, I learned that I just knew by resonance that that was Andromedan consciousness. I just knew it from my heart, because it's just something that you know it by how it sounds.
So you had a trauma that you were trying to work through, and you said to yourself, or it came through you, once you do what? I want to get this.
Once the lesson is learned, the pain is forgotten.
Right. And you can evolve on from that.
Yes. But of course, how you get to shine the light on circumstances, it's by cycles of energy. A day, a night, an experience of expressing emotion, an experience of meditating on the problem, on the circumstance, and, let's say trying to find that inner peace behind you, trying to solve it within you, cycles of energy. So the energy that you receive goes beyond, like, let's say a sentence or a quote, it goes beyond that. It's energy, it's vibration. It's something that you sometimes cannot even translate it in your physical mind and understand consciously that it is there being received by you, but that you anyways do it. Anyways, it's being transmitted to you, and you get to apply it.
Well, one of the things you told me in a conversation is looking at your dark side was something that you had to do in order to evolve. Can you talk about that and how that came through from this starseed level to do that?
Sure. Well, so one of the laws of consciousness of the universe, it's that never something exists without outside of the Trinity's structure. Everything
Wait, nothing exists outside the Trinity structure. Is that what you mean? Nothing can exist outside of the.
Exactly.
What is the Trinity structure?
It means that an idea in consciousness, any idea in consciousness, has three vortices. One, the negative polarity, one, the positive polarity, and the element in between is the idea itself, neutrally. So the consciousness work, it's that how you become aware of that neutral idea. Because if you will have neutral vision to that idea, it will be pointless for you to put attention to it, to flow your focus on it, because it's already there integrated. So one of the things that you get to become aware of it, it's by your consciousness, your higher mind manifesting in your physical life experience a negative expression of that idea that is presented as a topic of exploration. You face to it in the physical scenario, in your physical
you face the negativity. You look at the negativity.
You look at it. And so you start to express the negative polarity of it, presented as an obstacle, as a challenge, a spiritual challenge. And so by integrating it into the positive polarity, by becoming aware of the belief, let's say, the truth that you're tuning into, that created that circumstance, that created that focus, or that we're projecting your energy into that direction, and letting it go as an aspect that is not harmonic with yourself, that it is not part of who you are, it's how you actually change your orientation in consciousness to look at the positive aspect of it, of that neutral idea. And you identify with it, with the positive, and you let go of the identification with the negative aspect of it in consciousness.
Let me see if I understand that. So if you have some kind of challenge, you look at it, you don't run away from it, you don't go into an indulgence, you're with, and the negative feelings as well. You embrace the negative feelings. And then what do you do with that? I lost that part. After you embrace the negative feelings, what do you do with that?
Well, one of the reasons why you are experiencing the opposite polarity of an idea within your consciousness is because you are accepting it as a truth of who you are within yourself, whether you are aware or not. So, for example, if you see the idea of freedom, for instances, and you experience a circumstance in which that idea is in a negative polarity, which is you're not free, somebody is oppressing you, somebody is putting you under control. If you look at it and face it and experience it, it's because a part of you, of your being, is believe somehow that you are not free. So how you overcome that? It's by letting go of that belief, of that truth that you're tuning into, and saying, no, I am freedom. I am free. Mm-hmm. So you let it go, and now you only have the positive aspect of it to shine on the darkness of the polarity of the negative.
You told me this happened to you when you faced some negative ETs and the negative government influences. Can you talk about those experiences? Because those were powerful for you to gain control of your own awareness.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Sure. Well, one of the things that we know for sure about mind control is that most of the time they will make you believe things about yourself that you're not. They will make you feel guilty of things that you're not guilty. They will make you feel that you're something, identify with things that they perform on you in the torture that you are not responsible of, that you're not. So for me, the process was exactly that. I look at them and I responded negatively because I was feeling the guilt behind it. But I said, but I am not this. So what's the point of identifying with something that I'm not, something that is not part of who I truly am? And I let go of that belief about myself. And I only could experience now the positive aspect of that idea in between, which is I am the opposite.
This was an MK Ultra program that you were being and you overcome it by changing the belief about yourself.
Yes.
Interesting. Very amazing. Yes. So I have a lot more questions, but if anyone else wants to, yeah, go ahead, Karen. You had another question there or some, go, no, go ahead. I can't hear you.
Ross has got his hand up.
Oh, Ross. Oh, I didn't see his hand. Okay,
Thank-
sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariana, for your service. Amazing. This is amazing information. So awesome. Quick question, maybe continuing on your last response. So there are a lot of malevolent forces out there. How do you protect yourself? What system, what processes do you use to, I don't know, to shield yourself, so you are not affected by affected by any of the malevolent deities, beings, forces?
Sure. Well, there are many ways to go forward with it. First of all, you can integrate into your awareness that the idea of the need for protection is a vibrational invitation by itself of the idea of danger being manifested in your life. So you will observe that, for example, a child that it's so scared to break an elbow or a leg when he goes cycling, if he puts so much fear behind that, behind protection, and he's like, I'm gonna fall, I have to protect, and put so much energy in the protection, you're gonna see that in most cases that child has a high quantum probability of manifestation of that event to happen in their physical reality, because it's a vibrational invitation to all possibilities of getting injured to happen. So that's one of the ways that you can go forward with the idea of protection, by not needing protection, knowing that you doesn't have to be attacked. Why will you have to be attacked? But if you still believe that you're vulnerable to it and you want to, let's say search for an alternative, because you're observing that to shift that belief system in your reality right now will take so much energy or so many processes, because it's not about energy, it's about processes. Then you can search for many other alternatives, which is, for example, the idea of psychic protection or calling Archangel Michael. There are many techniques out there. And so you'll say, well, which one to choose? There are so many. Easy. The one that you believe the most, because belief is the strongest tool of consciousness. It's the base of consciousness. Right. So you will have to use the one that you believe the most in, as it will have more power behind it.
Yeah, it's like, I think you're saying if you really feel the need to protect yourself, then you're setting yourself up to protect yourself against something. It reminds me of that saying, it's bad luck to believe in superstition, sort of that kind of thinking,
Yes.
It's kind of a joke, but no. Does that make sense, Ross? To
yes.
you?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. It's just it's about discernment. A lot of people, they say, well, they are channeling the higher selves, the higher beings, and sometimes, I have to say to myself, well, geez, how true that is really. How well they are protected. How let's say it was some kind of a nefarious entity or being tried to imitate another human or themselves or another being and get into our vehicle, basically channeling. How would I know even or anybody will know that this is really the truth, or this is not some kind of a compromise imposter?
When there's a negative, I mean, you can feel it in your psychic body, in your physical body, and there's things you could do to dispel that.
Yes, but would everybody know? Would everyone know that they are those individuals that we may listen to or look up to, and how do we know that they are really the real McCoy, clean or yeah?
How do we know the people you listen to are the things you want to listen to? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. How do I know that that's the real truth? That they are really in integrity.
I like what Marina says. That feels pure to me. By what you're feeling.
That's okay.
It's about the message.
Yeah.
If the message works for you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And the feeling. Trust your feelings.
Trust your feelings. Yeah. Trust your.
Because even if the message was delivered by a being that has an agenda to it, that you accept the message because it specifically works for you on that specific matter that you're trying to apply it to. It doesn't matter the rest of what that being has to say on other things, because you will tune into their own other messages and say, I don't resonate with that. I resonate with this thing for you, but I don't resonate with this other thing. So take the message, not the person.
That's important. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Loney has go ahead, Loney, unmute yourself, and thanks for coming on. And yeah, you're good.
Okay. I guess I had listened to someone that once said that whenever you are doing mediumship, that if you were, no matter if they say they're Saint Michael or whoever they say they are, the one way to test the source of where they are coming from and that they are who they are is that you ask them to say the name, the highest name of names, and to admit that this is coming from a good source and that this message is intended for you, and they would be able to say the highest name of the names. And that is a way to tell whether it is good coming from source that we want to hear from. Not necessarily do we want to hear for something that is going to not be beneficial.
What is the highest name, though? What name are you thinking of?
Well, the highest name of all names, God, Yahweh, whatever you wish, to know that it's coming from Creator, that it's not a negative a negative entity saying these things to get you under, to believe that that's who they are, to believe that that's, you know, what they are. So, for example, if somebody came in and said, you know, I'm angel, whoever, and you talked a little bit, but you were like, then you just say, you know, if you are this angel, say to me the words, the name of the highest names on all names. And they will either start backpedaling, the entity will start trying to say things that, you know, are off course, or they will just totally disappear.
Right.
So have you found that to be anything in your experience, Marina?
Well, I haven't channeled so far entities, rather my own higher mind. And as it's something that is so connected to me, I haven't have to delve with that discernment process. Now, it's true that I have had mediumship abilities when it comes to tuning into other beings' words to me, but it wasn't like a channeling from them. It was more like a direct communication from me to those beings. So I didn't have to, let's say, discern, because they didn't have any agenda to a third person, you know, on that experience. But that thing that you were describing, you know, the idea of, you know, say the highest name, that's a possibility. That's a technique that can work for you and for many other people in their own circumstances, you know, if it works for them, you know. But you have to understand that every being and every race have their own reality. So that belief system that you hold about the highest name, or, you know, being Yahweh or God or a specific angel, that will not work for everybody, for everyone. So you may find that, you know, it just will work with certain beings, but there are many alternatives. So
it's a belief within, it's a practice within a particular belief system that works for some people. I agree with that totally. And everyone has their own way of, I think it's feeling. Does these beings feel good? Does it feel positive? Or does it feel not positive or good? And so that's how I would tune in. And you can tell. You can, I mean, yeah. So thanks. Loney, did you have a follow-up? Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying in doing these, you trust your gut and you trust your, your higher being to let you know whether this is or it isn't what you should be listening to, that this is the real thing, I guess is,
Yeah. Does that make
Yes.
sense, Lonnie?
Yeah, I'm seeing what it makes sense, but sometimes, I worked in a prison setting for 16 years, and not whatever came out of somebody's mouth was the exact truth.
Mhm.
And the way to tell was to have that person's actions follow their words.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know if that would be an example of a way that when you've got someone, especially say you talk to somebody more than other, or somebody wants to come in through you, do you have, I don't know how you would have actions necessarily to prove the words, but would it be some way to, that actuality? Because some people can look you straight in the eye and say something so convincingly
Mhm.
that, but it not be true, and it not be what they're saying. I mean, like I said, I lived through that on earth, human being to human being. So that's what I was basing stuff on.
I get that.
Well, the point is that we're ultimately responsible for everything that we choose to believe. We have thousands of meals, we have thousands of people and sources of information all around the world, and it is our own responsibility to choose if we are going to blindly believe it, maybe go on discerning, or if it resonates or not with our beingness. We have the ability to, let's say, ask for different sources of information from the universe. You can do that practice. You can say, well, universe, I'm not sure if this resonates with me. Can you please give me like another source of information to give me like their own perspective on it, so that I can have more, let's say, choices, to, let's say, explore.
Yeah.
And you can go that way, and the universe will give it to you.
Beautiful. Great. That's
Thank you
great.
very
That's
much. Thank you.
good. Karen, did you have another question? And then we can go a little longer. It's up to you, Marina. But yeah, go ahead, Karen.
It's such a big topic at the moment as we reach out to beyond what we can physically perceive in this world, into the realm of spirit and speaking to ETs and speaking to angels. There is this fear, and I totally get what Ross was saying, and Lonnie, there's this fear that there's going to be some unseen force that can be negative or harm me. Like there is this huge fear. But what Marina was saying about belief is so important, because you get to experience what you believe. Like you just get to experience what you believe. So if you have fear that there is some negative entity that can attach to you, you get to experience that. It's like we have to come back to who we are as people believing. It's the only thing we can do, because there are people that are physically focused or physically incarnate that can be horrible that you can attract, or non-physically incarnate that you can attract, or entities or thought forms, and I would imagine, Lonnie, that you saw so much of that in prison, like so many. Yeah,
it was. And I was very lucky. I walked out on my own all but one day out of those years. And the thing about it is that you have people that are there and should be there, but there are some that, shouldn't be there. And there's truth coming from some of the, I'll just put that to what, there was truth coming from some of the inmates, and yet there was not truth coming from some of the staff. And so you had to have some type of discernment, not fear, or you couldn't go in there day after day after day after day. And you have to have some way of discerning to make sure that what was being said, one, was the truth, two, it was coming from the right source.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say it's such a bigger topic at the moment, like negative attachments. Let me remove your negative attachments. Let me give you a spell or a potion or a meditation or, to remove. But, what Marina was saying about ultimate responsibility. I remember as a young girl learning for the first time about psychic attachments. And I'm like, really? I thought to myself, wow, I wonder what that's like.
And you attracted it, right?
Absolutely. I had a friend who's dead now, but she was born one of the thalidomide people. She was deformed physically, but most of her deformity was internal. So she was exhausted the whole time. Anyway, I remember dropping her off one day and thinking, God, I feel so exhausted. I know how you feel, Nikki, I said to her. I know how you feel. I felt like someone had plugged into me and was sucking the life force out of me like a vacuum cleaner. Anyway, I went home, had a bit of a chat to the mob. I call the mob my guides. And they said, you wanted to know? You wanted to know? This is what it feels like. And I'm like, damn, that doesn't feel good. But anyway, in that moment, I decided, okay, been there, done that, wrote it down, ticked it off, know what negative attachment feels like, don't need that experience anymore, moving on. And that's our power, right, Marina? We have the power to experience everything, good or bad, in this earth playground. And then we can say, nope, done that, moving on. And so, yeah, we just got to take back our power. What's the question I've got for you? I don't know. I'm just thinking you're amazing.
No, that's okay. I think that's a great statement, because it sort of kind of goes to what Marina was saying. You embrace the negativity, you own it, and you move on, right? I mean, isn't that it, Marina? You kind of move through the stuff. So the question I have for you, Marina, is that, well, you know a lot, I mean, at this age in your cycle here on Earth, but where do you want to go? What's your future? I mean, what's the big picture for you? What would you love to be doing in the next year, couple of years, 10 years, 20 years? Tell us what you see for yourself.
Well, I see many things because I have many different hobbies and passions. So, for example, I'm working on a book currently. I'm writing a book on all of the information that I channel so far from my higher mind. And that's one of the things that I plan on doing, on delivering my information in the format of a book. I also see myself I already have a YouTube channel, but creating videos, content for that channel in which I explain, let's say, deeply this information. I also see myself producing 2 songs that I created, or 3 songs that I created so far. And I want to put them out because I love music. And I also plan that perhaps I will study the career of physics because it's my dream since I was a child.
To understand physics. And do you know what planet your star system you're from, particularly? I mean, we're all from everywhere, but which one you resonate with?
Well, I resonate the most with Andromeda, with Aldebaran, and with the hybrids, hybrid civilizations.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that message you want to give us from the Andromedans, like at this time? Because here you are and you're representative, and we're ready to integrate the star seed awareness into our human culture. So do you have a message?
What I tune generally from Andromedan consciousness, it's that they are insistent on reminding us that we take spiritual responsibility for the events that we're facing right now on Earth. Because we have had a lot of experiences, negative experiences with dark forces, dark extraterrestrials so far. But I see them insisting in the fact that it's our creation. So we need to take responsibility also for that, as a species.
Is that message different when you channel your higher self? Because you also do that.
The fact is that as my higher self is composed of many different origins of itself, because we humans are hybrids, and not even because we're hybrids, but because the soul DNA is it's composed of many different genetics from many different star origins that we have had an experience in. that when you're tuning into your higher mind, you're just tuning into all this spectrum or matrix of different genetics that, creates your own holistic being yourself. So you're all the time tuning into different star systems at the same time, no matter what.
Right. So you want to study physics. Do you feel like there's new information that could come through you that you can give to the world of physics to help create new things?
Well, many people say that physics, it's like, spirituality is a higher understanding of physics. I heard that from Bashar, and he's right. When you know the mechanisms of consciousness, you at the same time can understand the mechanisms of physics, because physics, it's a projection of consciousness, space, time, numbers, everything is consciousness.
But is there something new? I feel like there's maybe some new perspective you can give to the physics coming from these other planetary worlds that will help evolve it.
Well, one of my personal wishes, is to explore the idea of free energy. And at the same time, also the idea of, let's say, unifying the fields of consciousness and physics all together, because they're not separated. That's an illusion that we experience in our third dimension, but it's not true.
It's not separate at all. No. And I think that's how ETs work and control their ships, by engaging the quantum field with consciousness.
Exactly.
But we can say that, and people like Luis Elizondo has come forward and talked about quantum physics and consciousness and what the UFOs, UAPs are doing, but they don't tell us how to apply our consciousness to the manipulation of physics. Do you have any insights into that? They say it's connected. Consciousness is connected to physics, but they're missing the piece of how exactly we can use our consciousness to manipulate time-space.
Well, one of the examples is psychic abilities. When I was describing how I manifested rain or snowfall, that had to do much more with quantum manifestation than the idea itself of, the connection with that element. And one of the things that I need to remember, people, is that, it works in a quantum system. So, for example, when you see things, events, before they actually get manifested, it's because you're informing yourself from energies, frequency signatures ahead of you and behind of you, because the structure of consciousness, it's divergent and convergent.
Explain what do you mean by that?
Consciousness, it's a point that contains all directions in which it expands, it projects itself like divergently, and at the same time, all of those different frequencies converge itself to your consciousness, because you create them. You create those things.
So consciousness projects out in all directions, but it also pulls the whole thing into the center point of the self.
Exactly.
So when we know that, how do we work with that to manipulate time and space?
By becoming more synchronized with that point, which is the now moment.
That is actually why I put this point in my book, between making and contact. There's a little point asterisk that goes out in all directions and comes back in. I just had a feeling about that, but you helped me understand that. Oh, hey, Jojo, good to see you. Do you have a question for Marina?
No, I just think she's brilliant. I'm just eating it all up, and so resonating with the being, more being, less doing. That's how we center. That's how we drop in, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I also want to ask, like, from these star systems that you come from, their understanding of moving out in and out of time, or the quantum time flow, how do they do that? Like you said, being psychic, but they can also appear at different places at different times, right?
Well, those abilities get accessed or activated when you evolve in consciousness, because right now our consciousness has been operating so far in a third dimensional reality, which is the belief that we are separated from the whole. And when you evolve your consciousness to the integration or perception of that fourth density consciousness, which understands itself as a fractal aspect of that collective consciousness that is your species. When you align your perception with that collective consciousness and understand that you're part of that whole, and that your frequency is harmonic with that principal harmonic of your species, you understand that time and space does not exist in the way that you perceived it previously. Anything is linear. You're not separated. You're not your individual consciousness, but you're not separated from that whole. You know, the structure of time and space is not linear. So when you access that information and you integrate that information via the evolution of your consciousness and the integration of your lower self to your higher self, then it's when you become able to put in practice all this knowledge, all these concepts of consciousness and space and time.
Let me see if I understand that. I'm going to translate it to my own mind. Because think we're consciousness within 3D, we're seeing time as very past, present, and future. But when we know we're that point of consciousness, then I think something happens to the nature of our reality, where we then can actually feel ourselves in other time, space systems, time flows of being, because we have let go of our attachment in a way to the world as we've known it. So it opens us up to this other, more fluid way of being. That's
exactly
my translation. Anyone else have a translation to their mind? Jojo, what does that make sense to you? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think the first barrier that us as 3D humans have to push through is the attachment to the body and the physicality that we're born into and that we're programmed to, right, through culture and all those things and life crises and traumas that we go through. We become so attached to the physical through sensations, and then those sensations become familiar, and then we perpetually cycle them over and over. So it's learning to break that bondage to the physical and ascend past it.
Right. And to the personality and to our identifications. I'm this person, I'm that person. This is my history. This is who I am, that
the victimhood.
Yeah. And just our history, our attachment, right. And all the things we identify as self. Like, you can't insult someone else's baseball team because they're so identified with, or their football team, their soccer. It's like that's so much a part of their identity that it's like you're insulting them. And it's like, that's so human. We have to get over that,
We
right?
do that with forgiveness. We forgive it. It's already forgiven. There's nothing to forgive. There's no offenses.
Right. But there's so many people. I mean, you want to wake up the whole world. I mean, in Spain, Marina, right? Don't they love their soccer team there?
Yes, I do.
You can't insult someone's soccer team, right?
No.
But isn't that so strange that we identify with these? I mean, what is your solution to talk to the bigger world to get them through that attachment, Marina?
Communication. It's the most principal way to cultivate a harmonic relationship between one human and another. So, of course, there are many people who will be ignorant to this knowledge or to these perspectives, higher perspectives, but we cannot neither expect that they will know it all by themselves, because maybe they haven't been offered that perspective, that other way of looking at it. So I think if we communicate it it's the fastest way to get that to, into their awareness.
And I also think what Jojo is saying is that, we have to forgive, we have to embrace the human part, which is,
Yes, that's true.
why
Because
we're
that's what we are right
incarnate.
now. Yes.
Yeah. But you've done that in your life. And, did you hear that, Jojo, when she talked about embracing that negative part of herself?
I might have missed it because I came in late, but exactly what she said about communication, it's a high conscious way of being, high conscious intention in everything we do, work, parenting, socializing, communicating, expressing our essence as divinity. So when we can exist in a high conscious frequency, we can now share that with the next generation so that the next generation isn't programmed to the 3D.
Right.
And that's our duty now is to adapt the younger generations to high conscious living.
Right. So, yeah, thank you. That's great. I totally agree. And so, Marina, is that the awareness on these other planes, on the Andromeda plane that you come from, that we are the divine incarnation and there's none of this limited belief that, as you remember it, I mean, is that your experience when you kind of refer your consciousness back to these other planets, star seeds?
Yes, that's true. And there's this belief that, we often say this, we come from source energy, we're expressions of source energy. And one little mistake that people do when they tune into that information, it's believing that because we're projections or we come from source energy, we are not source itself. We still are source energy. Just because it have become specialized, like a mother cell, when it becomes specialized to be part of, let's say, tissue of the body, it doesn't mean that it has its potential to be a mother cell, or to be like source energy, because it's its origin, it's its essence. So
we are source energy because we are from the source. I mean, right?
Yes. Because we exist. Just because the fact that we exist means that we are source energy itself, and that we hold all of that unlimited potential that source is.
Right. Do you see yourself in the next couple of years going out and lecturing about this? And is that what your vision is for your future in as a starseed here?
Well, yes, pretty much, yes.
And traveling the world and lecturing and speaking to people about. And is there anything you said you wanted to know physics, but is there any vision of of something you want to embrace? What aspect of the unknown you want to really bring in to this consciousness that you are as Marina?
Do you mean in physics career?
No, just as a vision for yourself, like out in the world. Is there like something that you're seeing in the future for yourself as you mature as a planetary being? Is there, maybe it's a personal thing, but do you see like some kind of bigger picture you're involved with here?
Well, I think it's the assistant of humanity become more hybridized, and that doesn't mean to just focus on the hybrid beings that are coming, the hybrid civilizations, but our own human nature, because we are hybrids. So one way to become hybridized is by awakening all facets of our collective consciousness, because we have a big spectrum of different genetics and origins and dimensions that makes us who we are. So that's another way that we become hybrids, by awakening to who we truly are as a species, our history and our future. Because both ideas, our past and our future, contain that same idea of becoming hybrid.
So what was one way to embrace that? What's one practice?
awakening to who you are so that you awake to what you are.
Mm. And when you awaken to what you are, all these other aspects of our maybe suppressed self come forward, right? Is this?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Any other Barbara or any Jojo, anybody? Glenda, did you have a comment? Or Ross? Yeah, Ross.
Marina, do you have like a website, like a YouTube channel, or any social media that we can follow you on or look you up?
Yes, I have a webpage called www.marinaseren.com. And of course, I share material in my Facebook profile page, which is Marina Seren.
Do you want to share your I'll make you a co-host. You want to share your video, your YouTube page? No? Or
Sure.
your website or something.
Sure.
You could bring it up if you want.
Okay.
I think are you going to come to the walk-in conference that we're doing in January, Marina?
I'm not sure. I mean, I have not been informed about it so far.
Okay, we'll let you know. Okay, Here she is, Marina Seren. Great pictures. Channeler, psychic medium. Yeah, great. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, keep going through, because your images are also great, and
Thank you.
And these are part of your channelings here.
Yes.
Harmony with nature. You have to do it through your own nature, which is the essence of who you truly are, and how you do it is by letting go of the process. Be as natural as you can. Okay. Like that. Right. Okay. And that was a Starseed conference.
Yes.
It was
5D events, which has been already.
Which was a fantastic presentation you gave at that event. I mean, the
Thank you so much.
I hope they were nice to you at this 5D event, because
yes, they were.
I've been to those events, and they can be a little wild. And yes, she was great at the Starseed conference. If you sign up for Portals of Ascension, you can go back and hear some of those Starseeds. And then what's this Anunnaki? This is what you presented at the Starseed conference, right?
Yes.
Right. And is humanity a hybrid species? Yes, it is, right?
Yeah, well, it's really, I mean, it's a knowledge, it's almost like a fact in the ufology field and the spiritual communities. But I created that essay so that people who are non-believers could maybe think about the probability of that being true. It's more like an essay for non-believers, in which I explain why it may be true for.
That's great. And you give readings. I didn't know you gave readings to people.
Yes. In my services list.
Oh, okay. You can, this is your service. Channeled sessions, spiritual coaching. Are you busy? Are people calling you now that you're out there in a bigger way?
Yes.
Are you busy? Are people like
not busy, but definitely having people to work with.
And it's fun, huh? Are you having fun?
Yes, I love it.
Oh, great. Because that's
especially
your work.
the channel sessions and the spiritual coaching. It's the funniest most.
So you channel for people. Great. I didn't know you actually did that one-on-one work. Oh, and you do your ET portraits, which is great. You work for people and you paint or draw or Photoshop their ET self, right?
Yes, that's true.
And people love that too, right? Oh yeah, let's see some of the ET portraits. These look a lot like you.
I know, because this one is my higher self.
I see. It looks a lot like your higher self. And this is your Arcturian. Oh, that's Sergio's Arcturian self. Yes. And when you do these pictures, do you do readings on the pictures as well? Like you do psychic tuning in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Great. I love these. Wow. Is this like painted or photoshopped? How do you do this?
It's with a 3D software.
Great. What did you think of Kamara's work when you saw that? Did you?
I think it's absolutely genius, you know,
It
because of
is.
how she's able also to blend in the artwork and the light language, you know, together. It's just amazing.
This is Kamara Jones. And yes, well, I'd love to invite you to the Portal to Ascension live event in California next year. If you
I would love to.
well, if you can get over here to the US.
Yes, I would love to.
They like Spain. Okay, and then what else you have? Your gallery services. Great. And then you'll be doing, and then ET Experiencer panel. What is that about? Gallery.
Well, the gallery is basically the place in which I organize different. This is about experiences I have. This is like pencil sketches, but this side of the gallery, it's when I post my videos or like, let's say, UFO abductions on UFO sightings evidence. So I have videos.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I have actual videos and clipped or recorded UFO sightings that I have.
Can you
And
show
also
us? Oh, you had marks on your body from abductions.
yes.
The triangular. How long ago was this?
It was in 2000. This one specifically was in 2018.
Can you go back to that video? And is there a good UFO on there? Can you play that?
Yes.
Oh, where was this that you saw this?
In the village of my grandmother.
How far from Madrid is this?
3 hours in car.
And this is not a plane. This is a slow moving.
Yes.
Did you have a communication with this ship?
Not really, but I got that they were that they were hybrid children, hybrid beings.
Were they saying hello?
Yes.
Right.
And this was in Madrid, Spain.
This is in Madrid, this one.
Yes.
Wow. That is definitely not an airplane, is it?
Yeah, I know. And it was with a friend of mine who was also a starseed. So
was it moving that slow, or is that just, I guess it was, huh?
yes, it was.
That's very slow. So it was a friend of yours who's also a starseed.
Yes.
July 17th. Wow, just a few years. And do you see a lot of UFOs?
That was one of my let's say strongest experiences when I was awakening. It's that I would see a lot of UFOs on the sky. Now, I'm not saying that all of them were ETs. Some of them will be government, you know, or even, you know, not related to me, but I saw definitely a lot of non-identified flying objects.
Can you call them in? You feel like if you can?
I did that actually one time with my friends. I had a green laser and I called them in to play with it. And they basically show up from nowhere as a bright light. And they started to follow the trace of my laser.
Wow. Great. That's what starseeds are here for. Yes. To call them. That's exciting. That's good. But I do see your work developing in big ways and writing books. We'd love to hear your songs. And so this is marinaseren.com. Thank you for that. Isn't that great? Like, I mean, right out there, UFOs. Barbara, any comments?
Well, I think you are such a gift to humanity, Marina. I'm very grateful that you're here. And I hope that many, many more people worldwide will become acquainted with you and be inspired by you.
And that you're
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
But you're so brave to just come out and say your truth. That's
thank you.
So yeah, anybody else have a comment? Yeah, Karen, Jojo, Ross.
Sorry, Diane. Sorry.
You're such a wonderful example to us of coming from somewhere else and wonderful representative of those beings whom I know are very, very caring about Earth and about humanity. And you are too. You're just such an excellent representative of all of this. So thank you so much for daring to come here and live a human life.
Well, thank you so
a big
much.
deal.
Yes, thank you so much, and to all of you too, Barbara, because you are the ones who have been paving the path for us to come.
That's right. Well, it is
you.
exciting. Yes, Barbara, for people who don't know Barbara Lamb, check her out. She is also one of the warriors who've been out there on the front lines helping people remember who they are. Really, that's been your work. And beyond starseeds, just their humanness, you know, this part of reclaiming our own humanity when we acknowledge, you know, these greater aspects of ourselves. So it's thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone here joining us. Thank you, Marina. Always so good to have you on the program. I have a whole playlist with Marina Seren on my YouTube channel. If you want to look at some of the past things we've done, like in the last, I guess, was it just a year, really, wasn't it?
No, it was this year.
This year, just 1 year. Yeah, that's where we did our first session. And then, you know, but I'm so happy that you're so many other people are discovering you and your work, because why not? You have a lot to share, and, you know, and you're not, and you always knew you were different. That's the thing about Marina. She, like, you never really tried to fit in, did you?
Never.
You told your parents you were different, right?
That was an ET from another planet.
You told that to your parents?
Yes.
That is so funny. And what did they say to you?
They laughed, you know, until I said I teleported to the womb of my mom. Now that's when they say why a child will have such an imagination. It's true.
How old were you when you said you teleported to the womb of your mother?
About 5 years old.
How did you even know what teleportation was at 5 years old? That is funny. That is funny. So now they accept. What's that, Barbara?
Well, Marina, have you always felt that your real family was out there, and that your family you were born into isn't your real family?
Yes, but without, you know, interpreting my own family here as different, you know, or less deserving of my love. So I took both as my family. But yes, I felt like I had a different origin, let's say.
So do you connect with your family out there? Do you feel your family from?
Yes.
Do they talk to you too?
They oversee my process and, you know, the things that I engage in, you know, with humanity, how I put out this information.
It's 10 o'clock.
Sorry.
Some aspects of the information that I got are also not all coming from my higher mind, but also downloads from them. So
right, because you're a representative of the consciousness here.
Exactly.
Right. So that's why I think, you know, this is a whole teaching process that you're in. I mean, as you meet,
you're teaching us about them, and you're teaching them about us.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. A two-way thing. That's good.
Right.
Because I think that many of them are very, very interested in us. And for years, I have felt that they know so much more about us than we know about them.
Yes, that's
and
true.
And it's nice to make that more shared, more mutual.
Right. And so don't try to be fit in. Don't try to be normal and fit in. Okay.
No. No.
I know I don't have to tell you that.
That would be a real step down.
Yes, no, you're way beyond that. Thank you, everybody. This has been a part of the Where's the Wish Alliance. I just had that up. Sheila Seppi's walk-ins. I was going to show that, but walk-ins, indigos, starseeds and hybrids, wishalliance.org. And there's a meeting coming up on Thursday as well, right? Yes, so you can just tune in to the Wish Alliance. You could register on Wish Alliance to kind of also be part of it. Let me see. I had this up anyway. Somewhere on my desktop. Anyway, just go to wishalliance.org. Okay, so welcome. Oh, wait. To the Wish Alliance. Oh, wait, that's not. Okay, so welcome. Wait, that's me, my feedback there. Sorry. Anyway, I think so. You can just tune in. Wait.
While Alan's doing that, can I just ask what countries we've got online at the moment? Ross, are you in Europe as well?
No, I am in Colorado. I am.
Oh, you're in the States.
Yes, I'm south of Denver, as Sheila is too. So.
Oh, okay. So we've got mostly USA, Spain, and I'm in Oz. Anyone else anywhere else?
I'm in California.
California. Hi, Barbara. Sending love from down under.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
East Coast.
And I'd like to invite you, Marina, to a couple of things, my show, and also we've got a group in Australia called the Palladian Awakenings. It's a free group like the Wish Alliance, just free, but we come on at night. So it doesn't work for Americans because it's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, but it works for people in Spain. So it'd be great if you could come and chat to our group just like you're doing here now. That'd be wonderful. We had another amazing young starseed on, and Alan, I'll introduce you to her.
Yes.
She was an English girl. Her name used to be something else. She calls herself Grace Agua now. And she had a complete Kundalini download and started channeling the Palladians, and she's living in Ibiza. Is that how you say it, Marina? So near you. So I'll introduce you to each other as well.
I'll interview her for this program, for my own program.
She's just starting to get out there. For the first time, she shared her story in our Palladian group, but she's amazing. She's amazing also.
Can you please put your information, the group information in the chat, please?
My information?
Yes, your Pleiadian group information.
Oh, yeah.
The Palladian group is in Australia at night, so it doesn't really work for Australia, USA, because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. If you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes I might be.
Yeah, you might be.
So where in Australia are you, Karen? Which part?
I'm in Sydney. Well, I'm in Sydney, and it's actually my friend David's group. He identifies with being from somewhere else. When you were talking about things before, I was thinking about David. He says, like sometimes he's in the supermarket or putting petrol in the car, and he has that connection to his galactic identity that says, "Isn't this great? This is so much fun." Just doing the really mundane human things in life, like from that perspective that we can't do that on our planet.
You guys have a mailing list?
No, there's a group on Facebook, Ross. But but I'll definitely introduce you, Alan, to Grace. She's another.
And anyone else that
anyone else.
I'm happy to give a platform to all these people. So thank you everybody. Thanks. Did I freeze up? It looks like I'm frozen.
You're frozen, yeah.
But let me just thank you everyone for being here. Marina, thank you for sharing your story in a way. Thanks Jojo and Karen and Barbara and Ross and everybody else listening online. We had a great online chat on YouTube, so this will stay on New Realities on YouTube. Anything coming up for you, Barbara, you want to announce?
Not until March and April. I'll be part of a couple of conferences.
Which
the Portal to Ascension and also the Ozark Mountain UFO conference I'll be going to and speaking at.
Okay. Are you going to the MegaCon this year? Are they doing that MegaCon in
Yes, I think that might be in March also, I think.
Laughlin. Okay.
Yeah, probably will. I was there this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be speaking at JoJo's group in Providence, Rhode Island. What's the?
Ah,
Yeah, Saturday, December 18th. We're so excited.
Oh, thank you. And
what is that conference?
well, it's just what is it? Tell her.
We're celebrating Alan's book, and we're also having him share with our community here about cosmic intelligence and
remote viewing. We're going to do some remote viewing.
And a little bit of Bashar. So
Yeah.
Where in Rhode Island will that be?
it's actually a town next to Providence, Rhode Island. It's called Seekonk, Mass.
Oh, okay.
Because you're from there.
Beautiful
I'm
wellness.
very fond of
Beautiful
Rhode
wellness
Island.
center.
You're from Rhode Island, Barbara? Are you from Rhode Island?
No, but I've been to probably 30 years of gatherings there. And I lived there my first 2 summers after college. And anyway, it's a wonderful place, very watery.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of water.
Very nautical.
Rivers and inlets and outlets, and it's green and lush and wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We're really excited to have Alan.
Oh, thanks. It's good. And we'll be doing, the Portal to Ascension. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Marina. I know it's late there for you in Spain.
Yeah, yes.
It is. She's in Spain. And
Middle of the night.
Yes. And thanks, Ross from Colorado.
Marina, just real quick, I'm sorry I jumped on a little late. Was there any practices that you shared that you try to incorporate every day that
that's
kind of bring you to a state of more awareness and being and contact? Certain meditation or practices that you like to incorporate on a daily or weekly basis?
Yes, the communication with myself. That puts me always in touch with the center point of my being, from which everything emerges and converts. So in that state of alignment, I have this ability to enhance this, cultivate these connections. This is enhanced connections with either beings or other aspects of myself.
But how do you communicate? How do you do that? Communicate with yourself? What's your process to find that?
I tell myself as if I was a psychologist. I tell myself the things that I'm, experiencing, how I feel about them. I vent, or I feel like crying, or I feel like laughing, and all these natural processes, this inner communication with yourself, is what puts me in a state of, presence and high receptivity to anything to come to me.
Great. That's a great way to end our little session. Sheila will be back here at the Wish Alliance, but anyone watching can join the Wish Alliance .org and sign up and be part of these community meetings, and we'll have more of them. So thank you. This is Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. Check out my book, Making Contact, and check out all the speakers here. And Marina, we will see you again soon. Definitely.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Alan, for hosting so wonderfully.
Yeah.
I like it. It's just like, I'm always learning, and this is my chance to learn from people whose experiences have been different than mine. So I take it all in and do something with it and learn more about myself. So thank you.
And Alan, I invite you to come on my show to share your experiences and your book.
Yes. Well, did you see my book? Because I write about my experiences in my book. But yes, call me, email me. You have my email, Karen?
I think so. Maybe. Yeah, we're connected on FB.
For anyone watching, it's newrealities@earthlink.net. New Realities at Earthlink. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And Ross, it's great in Colorado. So have a great time out there.
Yes,
And I'll
it
see you.
is. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Mile High City.